Welcome back to the deep dive. So, have you ever found yourself in that situation where you're meeting someone new?
Oh, all the time.
Maybe a job interviewer or, a potential mentor, even a date, and they drop that deceptively simple question on you.
The dreaded, so what do you like?
Exactly, and your mind just goes completely blank. Well, if that sounds familiar, this deep dive is definitely for you.
It really is a universal challenge, isn't it? I mean, you know yourself better than anyone, but when you're asked to actually put it into words,
The language just fails you.
yeah, you fall back on these like really generic, boring adjectives.
Exactly. So our mission today is to cut right through that noise. We've gone through a lot of source material, focused specifically on self-description strategies.
And we've built what I think is a really practical toolkit. It's got robust vocabulary, a clear structure.
And this isn't just a list of words. It's more of a strategic shortcut to building confidence and showing real self-awareness every single time you have to talk about yourself.
We want to help you move beyond those surface level definitions and, give you the frameworks to explain why you operate the way you do, whether that's your work style or just your social dynamics.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's jump right into the first core pillar, which is defining your social and emotional energy.
Right.
And the most common starting point for that, of course, is the famous introvert-extrovert spectrum.
This is fundamental, but it's so often misunderstood.
Yeah.
If you're an extrovert, the key thing is energy. You get energy from being around other people.
So you're naturally outgoing.
You're outgoing, you thrive in social situations, you are truly a people person.
And that phrase, people person, I think is so much more descriptive than just saying, I like talking.
Oh, for sure.
It implies that you don't just put up with social interaction, you actually seek it out. It fuels you.
Precisely. Now, the introvert operates differently. They need that time alone solitude to recharge their batteries.
So smaller groups maybe, or one-on-one conversations.
Exactly. So you might describe yourself as more of a quiet person, or a really specific word is reserve.
Reserved. I like that. It's a powerful word because it signals intent, right? It means you're careful, you're deliberate about who you open up to.
And that leads us to a really critical nuance that the sources really drive home. And that's the distinction between introversion and shyness.
Okay, this is where we really elevate the conversation beyond the basics, so go on.
Well, being reserved or introverted is a preference. It's about how you manage your energy. It's not a flaw. It's not a social disability.
Right.
Shyness, on the other hand, that's characterized by feeling nervous or uncomfortable or anxious in social settings. They're just not the same thing.
So you could be an incredibly confident person, a CEO, a great public speaker, and still be an introvert.
Absolutely.
They don't have a fear of people. They need that hour of quiet time in their office before and after a big meeting to, sustain themselves. If you use that distinction, you're showing self-mastery.
It's a game changer. So once you've established your social energy, let's shift the lens a bit to emotional depth. I mean, how you process and respond to feelings.
Okay. So you might be someone who feels things very deeply, maybe described as sensitive. And while that used to have sort of a negative connotation, the modern framing shows that sensitivity is often directly linked to being deeply empathetic.
Empathy is a huge strategic asset. I mean, especially in teams or customer-facing roles. It means you don't just hear what someone says. You understand and share their feelings. That lets you react intelligently and with kindness.
It's a trait worth articulating with pride.
Totally. Now, on the other side of that emotional spectrum, you have people who lean more logical or practical. They tend to prioritize data and effectiveness over emotional reaction.
So they're often described as, what, realistic, sensible?
Realistic and sensible, yeah. They bring a grounding force to any group, focusing on what works in the real world, not just theoretical ideals. When you describe yourself that way, you're signaling reliability. You're signaling sound judgment.
Okay, so we have that foundational energy defined. Let's move to the second pillar. How you approach structure, attitude, and the pace of your life. Where should we start? Organization.
Let's start there. If you are highly organized, it's not just about having a clean desk. You're organized because you're detail-oriented.
That's the language of quality control.
It is. It means you pay meticulous attention to the small things. You're not just checking items off a list. You're building systems to prevent errors before they even happen.
But, not everyone is wired that way, and flexibility is just as valuable. So if you're the kind of person who just rolls with changes, you can use warmer language.
Like what?
like I'm pretty laid back or I'm easygoing. Both of those suggest you're not rigid, you don't stress about small stuff, and you're flexible when plans, inevitably shift.
Right. Now let's talk attitude, specifically how you approach challenges.
Right.
Are you generally optimistic?
A great natural way to say this is I tend to look on the bright side. That phrasing immediately shows you're proactively looking for the good in a tough situation.
Or, if you're a bit more guarded, you can say you're more of a realist. And here's a tip for, advanced self-awareness. It's okay to admit you have a tendency towards caution.
So you could say something like, I can be a bit pessimistic sometimes, but I balance that with practical solutions.
Yes, that honesty actually boosts your credibility.
Okay, what about energy and pace?
Some people are just always on the go, they're energetic. The phrase always on the go means you maintain a high velocity, you're always busy, you handle multiple things at once effortlessly.
And conversely, if you're the one who brings stability and calm, you might say, I'm pretty mellow.
Mellow, yeah.
Mellow implies you're calm, you're relaxed, you don't bring unnecessary intensity into a room, and you prefer a slower, more thoughtful pace.
Okay, before we jump into professional dynamics, we have to touch on character. You can say, I'm a very honest person, but to really communicate strong character, you should say, you value integrity.
Integrity is the higher level concept.
It is. It's doing the right thing, ethically, morally, even when no one is watching. It speaks volumes about your reliability.
That is the perfect segue into our third pillar, professional and creative style. Because in a professional context, you need to describe not just who you are, but how you perform. So, are you driven?
Being driven shows up as being ambitious or highly goal-oriented. And goal-oriented is key because it suggests deliberate action. You set specific targets and you work towards them. You're a motivated hard worker.
But success isn't just about output, right? It's also about sustainability.
Sure.
So if you prioritize your health, your well-being, you should articulate that. You can say, I value work-life balance, or that you focus on working smart, not just working hard. That shows efficiency.
And how you handle volatility is a big one. If you're comfortable with change, you're adaptable, or you're flexible with change, you adjust easily. That's so valuable in fast-moving industries.
And if you prefer stability, you can reframe that preference in a positive way. You might say, I like routine, or I prefer things to stay consistent.
And consistency signals reliability and predictability. People know what to expect from you, and that builds trust.
Okay, let's contrast thinking styles. Creative versus analytical.
If you're creative, you love generating new concepts, and you're probably great at helping others think outside the box, which just means approaching problems in innovative, unusual ways.
And if you're analytical, you're the person who takes those outside-the-box ideas and stress tests them.
Right. You examine data, you break down complex systems, you perform root cause analysis to understand exactly how and why things work or fail. It's the language of structured problem solving.
Finally, within professional dynamics, how do you interact? Are you a team player?
Which means you cooperate well, you share credit, you're focused on the group's success. You work well with others.
Or maybe your strength is in singular focus. Then you'd be independent or self-sufficient. You take ownership and you can complete projects without needing constant supervision.
So as you can probably hear, we've moved from these basic adjectives to describing behaviors and motivations, and now we get to the really advanced layer, part 4.
The deep dive within the deep dive.
Exactly, where we connect these traits using sophisticated communication strategies.
Because having the words is only half the battle. So the first, and I think most crucial strategy is balancing your description, making you sound truly self-aware.
Self-awareness is so key. It signals maturity. I mean, nobody believes you're perfect. So by acknowledging a minor weakness alongside a major strength, you build instant trust.
And the most effective tool for that is the but clause. Think of it like a self-aware sandwich.
I like that.
You start with a positive, you use the word but, and then you follow it with a minor, non-critical drawback.
Can we do a practical example?
Let's. So instead of just, I am reliable, you could say, I'm very organized and reliable, but sometimes I can be a bit too focused on the details, which can slow me down.
Ah, I see. So you've contextualized the strength, and you've made the weakness sound like just an over-application of that strength.
Precisely. Or for social energy. I'm friendly and outgoing, but if I'm not careful, I can also be quite talkative. So I have to remember to pause and listen.
The acknowledgement of the potential flaw is what makes the whole statement credible. It's real.
The second essential strategy is softening your statements. In English, we tend to avoid absolute extreme language.
Like, I am always patient, or I never procrastinate.
Exactly. It sounds so unnatural and unrealistic. So instead, rely on adverbs. Instead of I am analytical, try I'm quite analytical or I'm pretty detail-oriented.
And those little words reduce the intensity, and they just allow for human error. They make it more believable.
And use softening phrases. So instead of I am optimistic, say I tend to be optimistic or I'm generally a very patient person.
That phrase, I tend to be, it acknowledges that, yeah, this is your usual nature, but you have bad days, just like everyone else. It's the language of honesty.
In strategy 3, this one addresses confidence. If you struggle with this, if you feel, not so self-assured, never apologize for it, just frame it as ongoing growth.
So you could say something like, I'm actively working on building my confidence in public speaking. Or maybe, I'm becoming more confident in leading meetings.
Yes. Or, if you're naturally reserved, you can give the listener a little roadmap. I can be a bit shy at first, but I open up a lot once I get to know people. It just manages expectations, honestly and positively.
We've built the vocabulary and we've mastered the strategy. Now in part 5, let's see these full strategies applied to our 4 personas.
This is where you really see how balancing traits and softening language changes the whole story.
Let's revisit Maria, the friendly extrovert, but in her professional capacity. She wouldn't just say she's outgoing.
No. What would she say?
She might say something like, I'm an energetic and optimistic person, and I genuinely thrive on collaboration. I tend to be a real people person, but I know sometimes my enthusiasm can lead me to be a bit too talkative, so I'm consciously working on my active listening skills.
See, she used tend to be, and she framed the flaw as something she's actively working on. That's really sophisticated. Okay, what about David, the thoughtful introvert?
David would focus on the depth of his contribution. I'm generally more of an introverted person, preferring a slower pace for detailed work. I take my time to process information logically, and I value integrity. I can be quiet and reserved at first, but that allows me to deeply analyze situations before offering a considered, sensible perspective.
He turned his quietness into a strength of analysis. That's brilliant.
Right.
Okay, Alex, the creative freelancer, needs to balance that creativity with a need for some structure.
So Alex might emphasize flexibility. I'm a very creative person, always focused on thinking outside the box. I'm pretty laid back and highly adaptable to change. However, I have to admit I can be a bit disorganized sometimes, so I rely heavily on digital systems to keep my projects on track.
So he presented a solution right after the flaw. That's smart.
Very smart. And finally, Jennifer, the goal-oriented professional. She needs to show she's ambitious, but not, ruthless.
So she leads with drive.
She leads with drive. I'm highly ambitious and goal-oriented. I'm a hard worker who is quite detail-oriented. I really value being a proactive team player. I will say, however, that I tend to be very serious about my work. So I'm currently practicing stepping back and appreciating the small wins to maintain balance.
She uses tend to be and shows she's striving for work-life balance. These examples really show you're building a complete, nuanced picture of yourself, not just listing traits. So let's wrap up with our final section, part 6, avoiding pitfalls and practice tips.
The first, and I think most common mistake we see, is just excessive modesty. You should never say, oh, I'm not very interesting, or I'm just a normal person.
It gives zero information.
0. Focus on the unique qualities we've discussed. Even your quietness or your flexibility is a unique quality worth sharing.
And remember that rule about extreme language. Always use those softening phrases like generally or tend to be. It shows you're a believable human being, not some idealized character profile.
And for anyone who feels that, this vocabulary is a challenge, or maybe you worry about your accent or fluency, here is the authenticity principle.
Go on.
People connect with authenticity, not linguistic perfection. Your inherent personality, whether you're funny or kind or thoughtful, that will shine through in any language. Your vocabulary is just the tool. Your character is the source.
So we recommend 2 main practice steps for you. First, take the vocabulary we've discussed today and write a short, balanced paragraph about yourself, maybe 3 or 4 sentences.
And try to incorporate one but clause and at least one softening phrase.
Second, practice saying that paragraph out loud. Record yourself. Listen back until it sounds like a conversation you're having, not a script you're reading.
And remember to tailor the emphasis based on the situation. You might emphasize hobbies for a new friend, but focus on your analytical style for an employer. The core self stays consistent, but the angle just shifts a little.
So today, we've covered the critical distinction between introversion and shyness, the strategic value of balancing your traits with the but clause, and the power of softening language to make you sound credible.
Ultimately, this whole deep dive is about demonstrating self-mastery. And let's leave you with this final thought. Describing yourself is not about listing perfect glowing adjectives.
Well,
It's about demonstrating your self-awareness and your integrity. So to truly show growth and character, what is one area, a genuine area that you are working on improving that you can honestly and confidently share? Practice sharing that honesty. You will connect with people every single time.
go forth, be authentic, and practice what you've learned today. Until next time, keep digging deeper.